He's on the Mount Rushmore of basketball as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe that would have happened if he had been in the same era as Michael Jordan. Because LeBron James' greatness would have shined against everybody else. But then when he went against Jordan, Jordan was one of those guys that he was not just out to beat you. He was out to annihilate you, to take your heart right out of your chest, to just make you just bow to his greatness practically, for crying out loud. It was like that, okay? Listen, I got a lot of respect and love for Clyde Drexler. We know what Michael Jordan did to that man. And understand that even though he did that to Clyde Drexler is not on the level of LeBron James. But if you watch LeBron James, particularly on his show, The Shop, which I think they're doing a very, very good job. Congratulations to him and his crew with the job that they're doing. I'm really, really fond of what I'm seeing from them. LeBron talks about what it took for him to get to that point, like losing in the finals to the Dallas Mavericks was his greatest achievement. That, to me, in a lot of people's eyes, that's when he choked. He scored 8 points in an NBA Finals game. It was just an embarrassing performance, you know, the likes of which we never thought we would see. And he took tremendous hits. And it was after that the aura, the mystique of LeBron James came in the fold, because obviously he was locked in, zeroed in, what have you. What I'm proclaiming is that those early years of LeBron James and the suffering he endured because of it against specifically somebody like Michael Jordan, he would have never recovered from that, because Jordan would have piled it on year after year after year. And we would have been asking for, LeBron, what you gonna do against this guy? And that's the difference. See, it's not just about, when you look at LeBron in his career, Dallas, San Antonio, and you know, whoever else, you know, Cleveland and Golden State and whatever, there has been no one that LeBron James has gone up directly where it's you against them until Kevin Durant arrived in Golden State. Oh, and even then, we weren't really looking at it because of the weapons that Kevin Durant had around him, but I'm going to still give him credit for averaging 35 and 8. Sure. All I'm saying to you is that he hasn't had that. If LeBron was playing in the era with Jordan, it would have been, what you going to do against this guy? And this guy would have never allowed LeBron to elevate, because it would have been at his expense, and Jordan would have never allowed that. Never, not in a million years. It would have never been this LeBron, never.
In sports media, some statements don't just spark debate. They shake the entire basketball world, and Stephen A. Smith did exactly that on First Take when he fired off a line that felt like a shot heard across the sport. He argued that LeBron James wouldn't stand at the same level of greatness if he had played in Michael Jordan's era, a claim delivered not for clicks or drama, but as a reality check for fans who treat LeBron's legacy as untouchable. Smith acknowledged LeBron's elite status and even placed him among the game's all-time icons, yet he followed it with a sharp twist, saying that spot would vanish if LeBron had to compete against Jordan, a player he described not just as a superstar, but as a relentless force in a number 23 jersey who turned opponents' dreams into nightmares. Stephen A. painted Jordan as a cold-blooded closer, the kind of competitor who didn't just defeat opponents but dismantled them completely, pointing to Clyde Drexler, an all-time great who looked overmatched and overshadowed in the 1992 finals, as evidence of how MJ erased anyone in his path. He contrasted that with LeBron's most painful low point, the 2011 finals collapse, when 8 points in a must-win game nearly rewrote his legacy in the worst way. LeBron survived that failure and rebuilt his story, but Stephen A. stressed that such mercy didn't exist in Jordan's world. If MJ had been standing on the opposite side, there would have been no revival arc or heroic comeback, just repeated domination until LeBron's greatness faded into the background. And just when the conversation reached its peak, Max Kellerman stepped in to push the argument even deeper. Max Kellerman pushed the debate further by arguing that while LeBron is celebrated for hauling thin rosters to the finals, the true gatekeeper of basketball immortality has always been Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He likened LeBron's legacy to Wilt Chamberlain's, a player with unreal numbers and historic achievements who was still denied the ultimate throne by Bill Russell, and suggested that if LeBron had entered the league 15 years earlier, Jordan would have been the immovable force blocking his ascent. The uncomfortable truth for younger fans, he said, is that LeBron rose to dominance largely because Jordan was no longer around to patrol the mountaintop. Jordan didn't just defeat rivals, he dismantled them mentally and emotionally, stripping away belief and crushing championship hopes for stars like Drexler, Barkley, Ewing, Miller, Payton, and Kemp. His killer instinct wasn't a marketing slogan. It was a reality that defined an era. Jordan's dominance was fueled by a razor-sharp, predatory drive that turned every matchup into a mental battlefield, a stark contrast to LeBron, whose biggest wins, even the iconic 2016 comeback, never carried the same ruthless destruction. Where Jordan ended careers and dismantled belief systems, LeBron simply outplayed teams. And imagining the early career Miami version of LeBron thrown into the 90s gauntlet against Jordan's Bulls paints a harsh picture. No soft conference, no second chances, no space to rebuild a shaken legacy, just relentless pressure until confidence cracked and the rising star became a cautionary chapter. Fans today point to LeBron's athletic gifts, yet they overlook that Jordan was just as extraordinary, with explosive leaping, elite speed, giant hands, and a 6 feet 6 inches frame engineered for precision and damage. LeBron overpowers, Jordan glides. And even with modern analytics, the numbers still tilt toward Jordan at his peak, setting the stage for one of the biggest misunderstandings in the entire GOAT debate. The debate over longevity has become the last lifeline for LeBron supporters, who argue that lasting longer somehow equals being greater, but endurance isn't the same as domination. Jordan never needed 2 decades to cement his status. He carved out his legacy in 13 relentless years marked by 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles, 9 all-defensive first-team selections, and 2 three-peats separated by a retirement taken from the absolute summit. He didn't just lead the league. He squeezed it in his grip until the entire sport felt his presence. LeBron's durability is impressive, yet it never elevated his peak above Jordan's, a reality backed by analytics and by the fact that Jordan voluntarily sacrificed prime years instead of stretching his career for numbers. He chose overwhelming dominance over longevity padding, proving that true greatness isn't about how long you play, but how completely you take over. And through every season, Jordan's ruthless instinct didn't just challenge rivals, it erased them. Jordan didn't just beat opponents, he consumed them, while LeBron, always candid about pressure and susceptible to overwhelming expectations, showed his breaking point in 2011 and has carried the weight of that collapse ever since. Had Jordan been the one across from him in that moment, the recovery arc fans celebrate today likely never would have happened, because Jordan never allowed rivals to recover or rebuild. He erased them entirely. And just as Wilt Chamberlain's unbelievable numbers couldn't overshadow Bill Russell's championship dominance, LeBron's statistical brilliance would have meant little in Jordan's era, leaving him as the Wilt-like figure, historic and spectacular, yet blocked from true immortality by a greater force. The hard truth, as framed in the debate, is that LeBron rose to the throne only after the sport's true god had already stepped away, in the same way Russell's repeated victories chiseled the narrative of greatness with Wilt's name sitting just beneath his own. History makes one lesson painfully clear. You can stack numbers, rewrite record books, and dominate highlight reels, but if another man blocks your path to the throne, the world will forever see you as second place. Apply that same reality to LeBron James. Yes, he owns the stats, the durability, and a resume built on longevity, but imagine Michael Jordan standing in his way every single season. Instead of navigating a softer Eastern Conference during the 2000s and early 2010s, picture LeBron crashing into Jordan's Bulls year after year, facing the same unforgiving force that so often shattered the dreams of an entire generation. We already know how that scenario plays out. Repeated defeat, just as Wilt Chamberlain fell time after time to Bill Russell, stuck behind the one rival he could never surpass. In that alternate timeline, LeBron isn't crowned as the king. He becomes the giant who never reached the summit, and those 4 championships might not exist at all. Instead of today's GOAT debates, the storyline around LeBron James would revolve around the constant reminder that he could never rise above Michael Jordan, leaving him celebrated not as the greatest of his era but as the finest runner-up history ever produced. Stephen A. Smith openly drew the comparison to Wilt Chamberlain, whose unbelievable stats never outshined Bill Russell because Russell beat him when it mattered most, and he argued that the same fate would have swallowed LeBron whole. In that reality, LeBron becomes the Wilt of his generation, awe-inspiring, physically unmatched, yet denied the crown because the gatekeeper never stepped aside. That's the uncomfortable truth younger fans struggle to accept. If Jordan played in this era, LeBron wouldn't sit on the throne. He'd be the tragic powerhouse who soared toward greatness only to be dragged down each time by the legend in a Bulls jersey. And the overarching message remains the same. True greatness isn't measured by what you achieve, but by the giants you conquer along the way. Wilt never climbed past Russell, and in that same light, LeBron would never have climbed past Jordan. And that leads to the conclusion fans hate the most: why LeBron will never reach Michael Jordan's tier. Strip away the noise, the debates, the shouting matches, and one question remains at the center of basketball history: who truly stands as the greatest of all time? LeBron James has crafted a remarkable resume, mind-bending statistics, 2 decades of elite play, and a legacy etched firmly into the sports archives. But greatness comes in layers, and immortality comes with rules. Those rules were forged by Michael Jeffrey Jordan. The difference has always been clear. Jordan wasn't simply a champion. He was an executioner, dismantling his competition so thoroughly that few dared to challenge him a second time. Jordan battled through a gauntlet packed with Hall of Famers and powerhouse teams, earning every championship through all-out war, matching LeBron's physical gifts and often surpassing them with sharper precision and control. Younger fans who never witnessed his ability to glide, hang, and strike at the perfect moment often miss just how lethal his peak truly was. A razor-edge era defined by 6 finals appearances, 6 titles, 6 finals MVPs, and not a single stumble along the way. His competitive fire turned games into executions, and his shadow became the measuring stick that separates the conquerors from the conquered. Just as Wilt's legacy narrowed beneath Russell's dominance, LeBron's would have shrunk under Jordan's. LeBron's story is one of longevity, reinvention, and resilience, while Jordan's is a tale of outright conquest, dominance, and unmatched supremacy.